Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf with Daily Clout, and I'm reporting today live from Yakima in Washington State, and I'm reporting on a really, really important development at the state legislator level, and it has to do with an epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, Native American women. So I'm going to start with a little background, things I didn't know and only learned recently. I just finished a book called Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. The subtitle is The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI. And for those of you who aren't familiar with his history, as I wasn't, it's shocking, truly shocking, in the 1920s, but really David Grann found starting back in 1916, extending into the 1930s in Oklahoma. There was a community of very, very powerful, wealthy Osage Native Americans living on tribal lands who acquired vast wealth called head rights because oil had been found on their reservation. And as a result of that, so many of them were targeted for murder and were actually successfully murdered. And this book tells the story of thoroughly documented 29 murders of Osage Native American community members. But the reporter also found, he's a New Yorker reporter, that there were dozens, if not hundreds, of other murders in that time period in Oklahoma among Osage Indians to acquire their wealth. And what this book also showed is that in the history of the American government dealing with Native American communities, the book narrates kind of systematic ways that the government stripped this particular Native American tribe of people's rights in the teens and 20s and into the 30s, specifically by assigning them guardians. And the guardians were white men, usually, and the guardians administered these people's own money. It basically turned adults who were Native American into legal children and assigned white men to administer their money. Well, there's a reason I'm bringing up this book. You would think, to me, it's extraordinary that the murder of dozens, if not hundreds, of Osage Indians in the teens, 20s, and 30s is virtually forgotten in this country. But the other thing that became clear is that there was a network of corruption among law enforcement in the teens, 20s, and 30s in Oklahoma. And this was replicated around the United States so that no one got prosecuted. And again and again, it was undertakers were in on it, local doctors doing the coronary on the murder victims were in on it, law enforcement, local sheriffs, local judges were in the pockets of the influential members of the community, the white people who were murdering these Native Americans for their money. So what is astonishing is that there are records and records and records that this reporter found in archives that show murders that were never investigated. Because of the lack of investigation and the scandal of all these people going missing with no investigation from law enforcement, that's what led to the birth of the FBI and the consolidation of the FBI as kind of the nation's federal police force. The FBI came in, they did a good job, they investigated, they found the murderers, at least some of them, and got them sent to prison, got a wave of positive publicity, and this strengthened J. Edgar Hoover's hold on the American imagination, and it bolstered the FBI as the nation's police force. There had been resistance to the idea of a national police force before then. So where I'm going is there's a history of Native Americans being murdered in America with no investigation. Now fast forward. Is this ancient history? It is not. I'm here in Yakima, a beautiful city in Washington State. It's a beautiful day, but I'm reporting on a very sad and tragic and ugly truth, which is to this day, Native American women particularly are still going missing, being murdered with no investigation, like no investigation. And I'm talking to you today about a series of bills that have been introduced across the country finally to address this. And you will be stunned at what has not been reported or minimally reported by the national media. It's an absolute public crisis. It's a serious emergency, and the fact that it's gone on so long is a national scandal. So are Native American women still going missing? They are. Let's look first at Canada, because this is not just a US thing, it's all of North America. Canada, of course, has a substantial Indigenous population. Canadians call this a national crisis. There's more discussion of the missing and murdered women in Canada. And in response, in 2016, Canada established a national inquiry into missing and murdered women. In Canada, what is bizarre is that there are no hard and fast numbers for how many Native American women in Canada, Indigenous women, have gone missing. And advocates say that the numbers are in the thousands, but that they're simply not documented. Well, let's move now to the United States. There is a group called MMIW, called Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. Here in the US, this group estimates that formal estimates are that between 1,000 and 4,000 Indigenous women have been missing and murdered since the 1970s alone. But advocates here as well say that this is underreporting of how many women have actually gone missing, women and children. And there are flare-ups that are well documented that show that this probably is underreporting. For instance, there were 49 murders of Indigenous women in the Vancouver area alone. So there's been an effort in the United States to start pushing for at least databases to document these disappearances. NPR reports on some researchers last year who contacted police forces across the country and tried to find out if these murders and missing women are actually being entered correctly into databases. And what they found is shocking. These researchers identified 506 disappearances. I'm going to say that again. 506 American women have gone missing and no one knows where they are, and the police didn't fully document their disappearance, okay, because they happen to be Native American. And these researchers found that most of these 506 women who went missing, their disappearance was not even covered by any major media or any news outlet. And they also found that 150 of these disappearances were not identified at all. So huge gaps in the reporting by law enforcement. And there was another study that found that, in fact, Native American women do experience violence at a higher rate and murder at a higher rate than non-Native American women, and that's high enough, God knows. But that study confirmed that Native American women are victimized by violence at a 10% higher rate than are women who are making up the national average. And again, that's extraordinarily high. Other studies have found that over 80% of Native American women experience violence. So it's a crisis. And the truly astonishing thing that these researchers also documented is that here, as in Canada, no federal agency keeps track. I'm going to say that again. Native American women are going missing in the United States of America, and no federal agency is keeping track of them. We've just had a huge scandal about children, notably brown children, being separated from their parents and going missing. No one can find them. So this is another equally horrific scandal, if not, I don't want to create a hierarchy of horrificness, a horrific scandal in which hundreds of American women who also happen to be non-white have gone missing, and no one is keeping track of them. There are databases the federal government keeps keeping track of every penny you earn, or you know, HIPAA keeps track of every one of your medical records. You cannot escape the eye of the government. NSA keeps track of every one of your phone calls, you know, illegally. But these women have gone missing, and no one has kept a comprehensive database, even of their names, the circumstances of their disappearance, how long they've been missing for, let alone the basic facts about the beginnings of an investigation. And people are saying hi, and I'm so glad. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to this important discussion. I'm grateful to you for joining us on this Sunday. So in response to this, there has been some activity. And by the way, you know, you want to think this is long ago and far away. As I mentioned, I'm here in Yakima. I picked up today's Yakima Nation Recorder, which is the local Yakima Nation, which is a historic tribe here in Washington State. And this is their newspaper. And even today, there's a report of rallies for a missing woman, a missing Native American woman. She's been missing since October 2nd, 2018. Her name is Rosenda Strong. She's a 31-year-old mother of 4 children, and she just vanished after leaving a casino on October 2nd of last year. Just vanished. There have been rallies, there's been Facebook groups, there's been activism, but she's still missing. So you can imagine what this does to communities who've been, you know, have survived a long history of being brutalized by various policies of the United States government. And the United States government is basically saying the women of your community can be disappeared and nothing's going to happen. You can imagine what this does as a woman. You know, women are victimized enough, traumatized enough, just in the normal course of rape, domestic violence, murder, abuse, sexual harassment, but to be given the message that women can just disappear off the street, or disappear last being seen in a car, disappear on the reservation, off the reservation, it doesn't matter. Native American women are disappearing in every kind of community, and the government is saying, we're not going to look. It doesn't matter. She's gone. I cannot think of a more powerful way for the federal government to say, you don't matter. You don't count. And I can't honestly, looking at, that I look at the ways that the federal government or governments across the world suppress citizen activism and citizen agency. I can't think of a more powerful way to traumatize people and terrify people than to tell them, you're the mothers and sisters and wives and, single women, doesn't matter who they are in your community, can disappear and you'll never hear from them again. And it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. No one's going to go find them. No one's going to record their deaths. No one's going to investigate. There's not going to be justice. No one's going to go to jail. It's a way of, I think, kind of targeting a community that maintains its strength, maintains its courage in the face of, centuries of systematized abuse. And it's a way to subdue populations, to say to them, we're not going to look when people you love go missing. I'm not saying it's conscious, but the effect of that would be to terrify any community, or the effect of it would be to seek to subdue any community, no matter how courageous. So in response to this, there's been a lot of recent legislative activity, and long overdue. And this also goes to show, I think, why it's really important, no matter what side you're on of the political divide, why it's so important to have diversity among our leaders, meaning just reflecting our actual population as a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multiracial nation. A number of Native American lawmakers in states across the country that have Native American populations have introduced bills recently to address the vanishing on an epic scale of Native American women and the fact they're not being looked for. So these lawmakers include lawmakers from Minnesota, from North Dakota, from South Dakota, from Montana, from Arizona, and from New Mexico, as well as here in Washington State. And these lawmakers have sponsored bills to address the issue. For instance, in Montana, there's a bill called Hannah's Act, named for a 14-year-old girl who was abducted and killed. And that is an example of how these bills keep databases. It's a start in saying we're going to keep a database, we're going to keep track. And there's a representative named Roe Peppers, a Democrat, who said, very tragically, it's always been this way. We've always had missing women and children. And she said the only difference is their voices are louder now. Bringing it here to Washington State, it's very interesting that a bill has been introduced here last year, and it's actually become law, so it's been successful. And I really want to stress that just when we feel so helpless and so hopeless, at a state level, it is actually very possible to make change, even for not many groups of people, to introduce a bill, to contact a state legislator, to ask that state legislator to sponsor a bill, and to create change. And so this is Representative Gina Mosbrooker. She is a Republican, which just shows that, the well-being of citizens, whether they're Native American or not, is not a partisan issue. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. The abduction of women should not be a partisan issue or an ethnically, limited issue. It's everyone's concern. So she introduced HB 2951 here in Washington State. I'm looking out at the beautiful mountain ranges. It's an incredible state, and it should be a state where women are safe, just like every state, and where their murderers and abductors face consequences. So this bill would force police to provide estimates of the missing and abducted Native American women. And this bill has been a model for other states to follow suit. So it passed. It's the law of the land. So there's now the beginning of a database, and police don't have the right anymore in Washington State to turn a blind eye to these abductions and disappearances. Representative Mosbrooker called the situation in Washington State and across the country, quote, an intense emergency, which it is. So that's House Bill 2951. The representative is Gina Mosbrooker. She's a Washington State Republican. And I'm now going to read the bill very fast. Let's see if there are any comments. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 says congratulations on 1,000 subscribers. And I want to thank you all for that, because you responded to our request here at Daily Clout to go ahead and become subscribers and get us to YouTube partners. And we now qualify. I don't know if we'll get to be YouTube partners. That's up to YouTube, but we've met their qualifications. 4,000 watch hours. We're actually now way past that, and 1,000 subscribers. L said, Liberty for All said, that's why I don't vote criminals in office anymore. There are criminals in office. However, I do encourage you to vote, because what we try to share here on Daily Clout, and also by embedding the bill with BillCam, as we will with this video, is that you do have power. You do have power to shine a light on these issues, to use our digital tools to lobby, and to force lawmakers to not do deals in smoke-filled rooms, to force them to pass the bills that you want them to pass. You have more power and sway at a state level and at a federal level, but even there, we've had some really notable successes here at Daily Clout when people have used our technology and social media to lobby for the change they want to see. So please rethink that. Liberty for All, we're here for you. We've got your back. 95% Air says hi back. Bamboo Sticky Rice says hello. You guys are all greeting me, and I'm grateful, but I'd love to also know your comments about this incredibly important issue of Native American women going missing, and this really very encouraging trend. Really, it's a movement among state legislators, spearheaded by Native American state legislators in those states: South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Washington State, Arizona, New Mexico, to stop the situation, to force police to pay attention, record these deaths, record these abductions, these missing women, and then investigate. So I'm going to read to you from this bill, and it says, it's super short. an act relating to increasing services to report and investigate missing Native American women, creating new sections and providing an expiration date. So be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Washington, new section, section 1, the legislature finds that Native American women experience violence at much higher rates than other populations. A recent federal study reported that Native American women face murder rates over 10 times the national average. So I need to correct myself. I thought the murder rates were 10% higher. They're not 10% higher. They're 1,000% higher. They're over 10 times the national average. I'm sorry, they're 10 times higher. However, many of these crimes often are unsolved and even unreported because there are also very high rates of disappearances among Native American women. Furthermore, there is no comprehensive data collection system for reporting or tracking missing Native American women. This gap in reporting and investigation places Native American women even more vulnerable to violence. So true. The legislature further finds that although violence against Native American women has been a neglected issue in society, there's a growing awareness of this crisis and a recognition of the need for the criminal justice system to better serve and protect Native American women. The legislature intends to find ways to connect state, tribal, and federal resources to create partnerships in finding ways to solve this crisis facing Native American women in our state. And then there's just one new paragraph, 2 new paragraphs, section 2. The Washington State Patrol must conduct a study to determine how to create state criminal justice protective and investigative resources for reporting and identifying missing Native American women in the state. The State Patrol must work with the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs to convene meetings with tribal law enforcement partners to determine the scope of the problem, identify barriers, and find ways to create partnerships to increase reporting and investigation of missing Native American women. Collaboration with tribal governments must be conducted in respect for government-to-government relations. The State Patrol also must work with the Federal Department of Justice to increase information sharing and coordinating resources that can focus on reporting and investigating missing Native American women in the state. 2, by December 1st, 2018, the State Patrol must report to the legislature on the results of the study, including data and analysis of the number of missing Native American women in the state, identification of barriers in providing state resources to address the issue, and recommendations, including any proposed legislation that may be needed to address the problem. However, this section expires on July 1st, 2019. That is the end. So I want you to absorb what I just read to you. That's all of House Bill 2951. That's it. It's super short. Pay attention to what's in there and what isn't in there. What isn't in there is the actual creation of an obligatory database that's obligatorily shared with federal law enforcement. It's not there. What is there, the first section, is a lot of nice but not definitive encouragement of state law enforcement to coordinate, certainly with tribal law enforcement, which is very important. These are different nations, and it's respecting the fact that they're different nations to coordinate with tribal law enforcement. But it's not creating an obligatory database, and it doesn't say you must investigate these disappearances. And it also isn't asking for a database, it's asking for a study. And as a lot of advocates for these missing Native American women have said, there has already been study after study. So why is it so watered down? Why is it kicking the ball down the road, right? It's saying police come back to the legislature with an estimate of the missing women, right? Estimate, right? That's not like definite, these are the missing women in the state of Washington. And it's also saying, give us recommendations for what we should do about it. So it isn't actually creating a solution. It's gesturing toward and supporting and encouraging and nudging a solution, and it's saying we're going to shine a little light on this issue. So just be aware, it doesn't actually create a hard and fast, you must investigate these murders or these disappearances. The other thing that's interesting is that it has an expiration date. Why does it have an expiration date? The obligation to create a study and an estimate sunsets, not long from now. It's already almost April. This ends in July. So the other question is, why? Why create a law just passed a few months ago that expires in a few months, right? I mean, the legislature got to have great media about the fact that they introduced this bill. Everyone felt a little better. But if you read the fine print, and that's why we're here at Daily Cloud, you find out that the bill doesn't actually compel police to keep a formal database, which, by the way, should be transparent, right? As a reporter, I should be able to go online and find out exactly how many Native American women have gone missing in the state of Washington. This bill doesn't do that, right? And it also is set to expire. And I can promise you that it will expire without the news coverage that attended its being passed. So to me as a reporter, I conclude that there's more here that raises questions. This looks like a way of addressing this serious crisis of Native American women going missing, but there are big holes in it. And it's gestural. And if I were a member of a Native American community, which I'm not, I would feel that it doesn't go far enough, and it's kind of insulting in not delivering hard and fast consequences, and also in not delivering, and having a self-implosion date. A lot of interesting comments. Jasper Bogue says, this sounds really creepy. It is creepy. Alice Murphy says, are there no investigations because U.S. law enforcement is banned from investigating on tribal lands? You raise a really important point. I need to do more research about that, but it is true that they are different jurisdictions. And there's truth to that, but Native American women are going missing also not on tribal lands, and they're not being investigated there either. Amy Shepik said, this is critical legislation. I agree with you. It is unconscionable that Native women have been discounted in this way. Amy, if I may use your first name, I totally agree with you. And Allison Murphy says, why are they not investigating? And to me, Allison, you don't have to be a reporter. That is a big why. Like, there's a big question mark after we did this report. Like, what the heck? What's this about? What's going on here? Why not investigate? Especially because, as we've seen, the disappearances seem to really be systemic. Like, women, 49 Native American women were missing in Vancouver in one small area. Imagine 49 white women. Imagine 49 white upper middle class women in Vancouver vanishing, right? It would be front page news for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the perpetrator would go to the electric chair or, spend the rest of his life in prison or her life in prison. It would not just be shrugged off or not even reported on. Carl Hargrove, it's simply not a concern, and that is a shame. I'm with you. I mean, I was astonished that there could be this systematic erasure of not only a people, but even more specifically erased a gender of a people. Like, Native American women get to vanish in the United States of America in 2019 without a trace and without documentation, repercussions, investigation. It's shocking. Affirmative, says Jasper Bowe. He says, take a look at your constitution, etc. Yeah, this is a complete violation of these victims' constitutional rights. Amy says, Native women have long been considered animals in the same way that brown people have in this country. It was probably just ignored since our military was the law in the West. And Amy, I need to learn a lot more about this. I'm definitely on a learning curve with Native American history in this country, one that's long overdue. But from what I've begun to read, you're exactly right. And even Killers of the Flower Moon shows that Native American women were definitely cast in reports of these murders in the 20s as subhuman, beast-like, animal-like, and definitely dehumanized. And dehumanization is a very standard way for elites who want to control power and resources to kind of diminish the value of citizens and humans so that their rights and their property can be taken away. Amy says, not enough teeth in the bill. I agree with you. I was looking forward to reading the bill. I was hopeful, but this is definitely a bill that the headlines are better than, like, where's the meat, you know, like, where's the burger, where's the substance. It's wispy. It's like a gesture. It's a gestural bill. Jasper says Amendment 14, Section 3, for example, you'll have to type out what that is. I'd love to know. I don't know the Constitution by heart. Unfortunately, I should. Nugmik says 5G causes cancer in children. This is turning out to be true, and we'll do a separate video to update our 5G reporting at Daily Clout. By the way, taking a breath to say, if you think that these videos and the embedding of the actual bill with our technology bill cam are valuable and help you make your world better, know what's really going on, get past the spin, mobilize your community, pass laws, which our viewers are actually doing. They're using bill cam and these videos to pass laws, to make laws better, to get rid of inadequate laws or stupid paragraphs in laws. Then please, I'm going to ask, it's hard for me to do it, become members of Daily Clout. Go to dailyclout.io, press that red membership button. It's $3.99 a month. We try to keep it super affordable, or you can make a one-time donation or a recurring donation. Some people, we're so grateful, do like a $10 monthly recurring donation. One person gave us $200. Other people have given us donations here and there. We're super grateful because it costs $500 just to keep our hosting, $500 for our data. We pay our researchers, we pay our webmaster. There are fixed costs, associated with producing these videos and giving you bill cam. And we really need your help to keep our doors open, keep providing these videos and this powerful digital tool for taking back democracy. Dark forces at play here on this topic. Well, Jasper, I have to say, I hate to speculate, but as a reporter, this pretty superficial bill does make me wonder what's the reason to keep not investigating. Like there's some, if women have been disappearing in the modern era since the 70s, Native American women, and there has not been investigation, something's being protected. You know, there's some reason, because there's no other justification. Tom Dudek says, sounds like human trafficking. And we do know that human trafficking is a huge, huge issue in this country, and that women are trafficked in this country, not just overseas. And actually advocates in Canada have raised this issue quite a bit. I haven't investigated, I don't know for sure, but anywhere and any time, Central America, North Africa, anytime women are abducted or missing, human trafficking is definitely a question that has to be investigated. And Red Black says, could it be human traffickers? I imagine a rich person from another part of the world might be interested in, quote, exotic women. And I guess I'll just repeat what I said before. I don't know. But human trafficking is a question we always need to ask when women are abducted, when children are abducted. I mean, it's a question people are asking about what's happening to these kids at the border. Why separate kids? Like, where are they going? It may not be a conscious policy of human trafficking, but it certainly allows, how can I put it? If you're a human trafficker and you know that Native American women, their disappearance is not going to be investigated, you're more likely to abduct Native American women. It just stands to reason. And so there's a lot of really interesting issues being raised in the comments, really interesting speculation. I've told myself I'm going to keep these videos tighter so more people can watch them all the way through. So I'm going to sign off unless there are other questions or comments. But I've shared with you, just to recap, a really, really interesting, important, urgent issue, which is that Native American women are being abducted, going missing, being murdered. I've shared with you that there's a long history of that in the United States that's been documented back to the 19th century and earlier. And then Alison Murphy, this is very important. Kenneth Annette has been fighting in Canada regarding missing and murdered Native American children. Thank you, Alison. The more we learn from all of you, and certainly awareness is higher in Canada than it is in the United States, the the faster is our learning curve, and the more we can alert our neighbors, alert our friends and communities, and pass better bills. And also, why should we have to depend on Native American legislators to introduce bills to document Native American women going missing? That's not just the problem of Native American legislators, right? Every one of us who watches this, whatever our background, whatever our politics, these are our sisters being abducted and missing. It should be, white, black, brown, every kind of legislator, male, female, non-binary, every kind of legislator should be passing bills to stop the abduction and the vanishing and disappearing of Native American women, right? Like, we need to be an America in which, like, Black legislators don't have to be the only ones carrying the ball for, policies that protect African Americans, and Jewish legislators shouldn't be the only ones fighting anti-Semitism, and so on and so on. These are our sisters. And Stryker Pierce Investigations, disclosure, close friend, says, thanks for getting this out. Yakima Nation has been alone in this for a long time. Thank you, Stryker Pierce. So there we have it. That's it for today. I hope that I didn't just alarm you and horrify you by this appalling situation, but I also empowered you. Jasper Bogue says, you are never alone. Thank you. Allison Mercy says, Annette, YT keeps changing. Oh, it's changing spelling. Allison, thank you. And if you want to give me more information that I'll share with our community, send it to naomi@dailyclout.io. And all of you, I'm here to learn from you. We're here to learn from you. YouTube and Daily Clout this is your channel, okay? So if there are bills you want us to cover at Daily Clout, send them to me. If I don't know about them, educate me, send me links, and I'll turn it into reporting and presenting so that in turn you can take action and inform your community. And Allison says, thank you. And I'm saying thank you to all of you. So again, the bill is SB 2951 in Washington State, but there are bills across the country. We'll embed them. Thanks, love your channel, says Peter Probst. Thank you. Well, please tell your friends, and please do become Daily Clout members. It's wonderful to have you as YouTube subscribers, but we do have these constant fixed costs every month, and we're all fighting really hard here at Daily Clout to pay our hosting, pay our data, keep the doors open on BillCam, keep up the good work. I'll be donating. Thank you. XX are on XX. I'm grateful to you. And by the way, also send me, you can sponsor readings of bills. You can, alert us to, if you want to shout out to your friends, to your community, to a loved one, a happy birthday, let us know. And, we'll include that at the end of a sponsored bill and identify it as your sponsorship. And it doesn't change our content. Of course, we are independent, and we stay independent through your support, your contributions, and your becoming members of Daily Clout. So look, you guys, you just spent 38 minutes learning about a crisis. And I've empowered you now, and you've empowered yourselves to go out and not just feel depressed and overwhelmed at how awful the world is that this could happen, but you're empowered now with the bill to spread the word. You're empowered to tweet. If you live in Washington State and you vote, that's very important. Tweet Representative Mosbrucker, Gina Mosbrucker, about HB 2951. And if you think it's good enough or a good start, let her know. And if you think it needs more teeth in it or shouldn't expire in 4 months, let her know. If you think there needs to be a database that's more formal, let her know. And by all means, please, please, please support MMIW if you care about missing and murdered Indigenous women. Go to their website, donate to them, go to rallies, reach out to them. You do not have to be Native American to show support for people who are suffering and terrified by a situation in which women are being abducted and disappeared with no recourse. So this is me, Naomi Wolf, CEO of Daily Clout. Drive your democracy. You have the power to make a world in which all women are safe. Thank you so much for joining us and communicating, and let's go out and take over democracy. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.